Hello, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. This time I'm doing something a little bit different. I was originally going to use these pocket cards from the This Life Noted kit to make a typical pocket page that I usually do every month. But as I was kind of trying to think about doing this title card using the strawberry card, the 4x6 card that came in the kit, it kind of occurred to me that I might want to do a little mini album using the 4x6 cards. And I'm also going to stick some 3x4 cards in there. So that's what I'm doing right now is I'm just looking through the cards and I'm taking out any cards that are not food related because I'm scrapbooking all food photos today. And so I'm taking all those out and I'm putting them in a pile up in the top left-hand corner. And then these cards that I'm making a pile of down here in the bottom left-hand corner are going to be the pages. And they're not all going to stay the way that I'm putting them right now, but I'm just, thinking about how I might lay out these cards to make a little booklet. And so because the video is sped up, it doesn't make really good sense right now, but as I do it, you'll see. So the back of this strawberry card had vertical lines on it, which are not going to work with the other side of this page. So I just covered it up with two 3x4 cards there. And one of them has a little frame with the date in the bottom, and then the other one has those greenish colored lines on the top and the bottom. And so that's what I'm going to do for most of the pages, is have them be a 4x6 card on one side and then two 3x4 cards taped to the other side of it, except for this one. This one I'm just going to tape one 3x4 card on the other side of it. I just grabbed my textured paper drawer, and I'm going to, and it's just an assortment of a whole bunch of different papers, specialty papers with different textures. And I grabbed this piece of screening. It's actually from a paper making kit, and we've already made the paper from the kit and we're not going to make paper anymore. So I just stuck the screen in with my textured papers because I thought it might make a good embellishment at some point. And so I'm just going to use it as a layer here. And what it will do is two things. It'll add some texture to this page, which will otherwise be a fairly plain page, and it will also mask the vertical lines on that card a little bit because it's the back side of the card. The lines go the other direction to allow you to use that as a vertical or a horizontal card. And so now for this one, I want to cover the Love This because it's sideways, so I used the These Days 3x4 card. And now for this one, I'm covering up those vertical pineapples with another 3x4 card. And again, I'm just kind of sandwiching these cards together so that the vertical sides are out. And I'm going to use those as little insert pages within my mini album. So of the mini album, it will go one 4x6 card and then one 3x4 page, one 4x6 page, and then another 3x4 page, and it will alternate between the two sizes. So for the cover page, I'm thinking I want to use this silver fork and like the glitter foam die cut fork that came in the kit, and also that blue bow. But I find that strawberry pattern, as much as I love it, is a little bit overwhelming for putting a title on. And I don't necessarily want to make a title with, it would work if I used really, really bold black letters, like some of my foam letter thickers or something, but I don't necessarily want to do that for my title. So I'm going to tone down this paper by putting this tissue paper over it. And what I cut out, you didn't see, was the sewing that I did. So I went over to my sewing machine and I just sewed all the way around it. I was trying to use my ruler there to help rip the tissue paper, but tissue paper rips well in one direction and it doesn't rip well at all in the other direction. So I have to use my finger just to make sure that it doesn't rip into where it's sewn, because then it'll make a mess everywhere. So I had to reattach those 3x4 cards onto the back of it. So I'm just kind of thinking about how I'm going to make a title piece here. And I thought this green and white card will make a nice kind of centerpiece, I guess, on this title card. And I'm going to use this stamp that came in the kit. And I'm just using the block here to kind of set the design up so that I can, the block is clear so I can see through it as I set up the design. I'm not going to actually use that block for stamping. I'm going to use my MISTI tool, which is, MISTI stands for Most Incredible Stamping Tool Invented. So I'm using my Zutter Bind It All for this project, and what I learned the hard way a long time ago when I made a mini album is that you definitely want to punch your pages first, because otherwise the pages are too thick to stick into the puncher, the tool, and also sometimes you end up punching through some of your design and it crumples things up and cuts holes in the wrong places and so on. So I like to punch my holes first. It's been a long time since I've used this tool, so I have to go back to using the instructions. Back when I used to make a lot of mini albums, I knew how to do this quite quickly and easily, but it's taking me a bit longer now because it's been well over a year since I've made a mini album with this tool. So I'm just eyeballing it because that's the kind of person I am. You're supposed to kind of draw a line down the center and center it, and I just can't do that. I can't force myself to do that. So I'm just eyeballing it, which is easy to do because the tool is just a little less than 4 inches and these cards are 4 inches wide. So I'm just centering the cards against the tool. And it does a pretty good job. I mean, if it were much bigger than 4 inches, it would be trickier to get it centered, but it didn't come out too badly considering that I just eyeballed it. So I'm back to using this green and white card now, and this is my MISTI tool. And oh, I'm so sorry that this is out of frame. Darn it. I think I'm going to move it up a little bit, but you see what I'm doing here is I'm just centering the stamp on the green and white card. And the reason I'm using the MISTI tool is that it has those grid lines on it. So after I picked up the, and I'm going to emboss, that's why I have my embossing drawer out right now. After I picked up the stamp, I just checked it to make sure that it was lined up straight with the grid lines on that on the piece that kind of flips back and forth. So I have some silver zing embossing powder here, and when I embossed it, it looks really great, but it was just, I wanted it to be a little bit thicker. So I had to heat it up again and then pour a little bit more embossing powder on there. And when I did, I got quite a few stray pieces there. So I'm just using my little paint brushes. They're very soft paint brushes. And if you just brush and blow at the same time, any little stray pieces will go away. Now I'm just cleaning up this little tray. I am going to do some more embossing, but it's my black embossing powder is in this box. And so I don't have to use that little powder catcher thing, that blue powder catcher thing that I just put away. So now I'm going to line up the place setting with the word eat, and I'm going to pick it up with see how I just used the grid there to make sure that the spoon and fork were lined up at the same places on that grid, just to make sure that it's going to stamp nice and lined up with the word eat. And I find that using the MISTI tool is a little bit better for me for making things centered. Sometimes, as you know, sometimes I don't really care about things being lined up and centered, but in this kind of an application, I did want the place setting to be nice and lined up with the word eat. So that's why I use the MISTI tool instead of just stamping with a block. And I find that the more I use the MISTI tool, the more convenient it is to keep on using it instead of a block. And so that's why I used it. So I know it looks like I'm really going overboard with these pop dots, but this is the outside cover of this mini album. So this page is going to have to stand up to the most wear and tear of any other part of the book. So I want to go overboard and make sure that this is really stuck down. So I'm just lining up this fork and the bow to make sure that I can adhere it so that the bow is centered under the place setting. And because the fork is kind of off to one side, it meant that I had to cut the little foam sticker that sticks this bow in place. I had to cut a piece off of it so that it would layer nicely with the fork. And now at the very end of this video, I'm going to come back and fix the cover, because although at first I was going to make it be off center, so this is just a little Rubbermaid broom that I use to clean up after I use embossing powder, so that the embossing powder doesn't get all over everything. So I am going to come back to the cover at the end and fix it up a little bit. So what I did there was I just cut off the tines off of the fork. They were so thinly cut that they were just flip-flopping all over the place, and it didn't look so nice. So I just cut the little negative space parts of the tines off of the fork on that cork embellishment. And I'm just kind of playing around with some of the embellishments that come in the kit. And so I'm going to cut out the, what does it say? Please and thanks, because that is sort of related to food. And I definitely want to use these banners, so I'm going to cut those out. And you'll notice that I'm using my big scissors instead of my little cutter bee scissors. I like the cutter bee scissors for fussy cutting, but I find that when I'm fussy cutting on a straight line, it's a lot better to use one full kind of closing of your scissors instead of having to go open, close, open, close, open, close. I make a more wobbly cut when I use my small scissors, because you have to keep opening and closing them. So for long, straight cuts, I prefer my big scissors for fussy cutting, and that's what these triangles are. So that's why I use those scissors. And God, I love that banner. It's just so cute. I wish I could have used all of the banner pieces. I think I'll use them in a scrapbooking layout because I absolutely love them. So now I just have my Creative Memories little tiny trimmer here, and I love this trimmer for trimming any photos really, because all my photos are 4x6 or smaller. I print them at home on my Epson PictureMate camera, or not camera, but my printer. And there's a link in this video to my blog post about printing using iPhoto, if you're interested in how I print. It's really only helpful if you have a Mac. So I'm sorry I can't help you if you don't have a Mac, but I'm sure there are lots of other videos and blog posts that show you how to use other Windows-based software to print photos of different sizes if you just Google it. So yes, and people also ask me about that trimmer. That trimmer, my friend Tanya gave me that trimmer. Thank you so much, Tanya. I absolutely love, love, love that trimmer. She was a Creative Memories consultant, and she had two of them. I think she replaced one and then didn't. I don't know. But anyways, I'm pretty sure that Creative Memories doesn't make that anymore, because they really don't make as many things anymore as they used to. So if you're looking for an almost identical trimmer, there is one by, I think it's Ranger that makes it. I'm pretty sure it's Ranger. I saw it at my local scrapbooking store. So yeah, you can get it. It's a different color, but it looks to me like it's pretty much the exact same printer. So there's a card that I had made a long time ago. My husband texted me and said, "Do you have a card for so-and-so?" So I had to check, and I just sent him a picture of it so that he could decide for himself if it was appropriate. Now I'm just going to cut some little banner flags, like some fishtail ends for this little phrase that says please and thank you. And I was going to use this Chamel stamp that a YouTuber, a very kind, generous YouTuber, sent to me. Thank you so much. But it didn't end up having the phrase that I was looking for, so I'm just going to add a roller date stamp. And because it was taken on my birthday, that actually says a lot more than a phrase would say, because it is, it's kind of my favorite breakfast. It's Eggs Benedict, and having my birthday there just kind of reminds me that that's something that I don't always have it on my birthday, but I like to often have it on my birthday. So that's what that is all about. And it ended up working out better to use the date than to use a phrase there. And now This banner, I'm just going to, I like to have banners look like they're attached with something, like either have a string running along them, or in this case, I'm going to staple them in place. But when I did staple them with my tiny attacher, I just slipped my tiny attacher in between the layers so that the back side of the staples didn't show up on the other side, because that's the title page too. So I definitely don't want them to show up there. Now I'm just using my Chamel gray pen, which is one of my favorite journaling pens, and I'm just outlining around that card just to give it a little bit more I guess definition. I want it to be obvious that these are kind of two side by side kind of chunks of information, instead of having it be sort of like one continuous 4x6 page, if that makes any sense. I just want to emphasize the fact that there are two 3x4 cards side by side here, instead of making it look like one 4x6. So I went to my little letter stickers and pulled out the Daily Flash letter stickers. These are all letter stickers that came in previous Scraptastic kits. And I also pulled out those snap ones, but they're too big, so I'm not going to use those. And what I like to do when I'm making a mini album is try to use the same font throughout, just to make it look a little bit more cohesive from page to page. And in this case, I'm going to use this cursive font in two different colors. So on this page, I'm using the red one, and I'm just spelling out the word breakfast. And I'm using wax paper to do this, and that just allows me to play around with the placement and decide if I want to put it above the photo or overlapping the photo like I am right here. And as I put them down, I'm actually making them into a little bit of a semicircle so that they're taller in the middle and then shorter on the edges. You know what I mean when I say that. If they're sort of, down lower on either edge and then up higher in the middle is what I meant. They're actually not taller or shorter. And then the word people I'm spelling out. So this is going to say, we are definitely breakfast people. So here I am just placing those letter stickers for the word people. And again, using the wax paper really helps me keep it even as well. So I can kind of, have a look at it and then just move the wax paper out of the way as I place the letters. So my marker isn't working very well. And I managed to misspell the word definitely. The way I remember how to spell definitely is I always remember that finite, the word finite is in definitely. Somehow I still managed to misspell it. I don't know why I did that. Because I know how to spell definitely, because I have a little trick, but still. So I noticed it right away, and then I had quite a difficult time getting this whiteout to work properly. It wasn't sticking anywhere, and then I decided to go back and use my white gel pen to fill over some places that the whiteout wasn't sticking. Ugh. What a mess. But I did fix it up. I fixed the spelling and it looks reasonably neat and tidy-ish. I added some little black markings on that banner just to kind of tie in the black that was already in the journaling on the other side, and also added an enamel dot there. So now this card is a 3x4, this page is a 3x4 card that I'm just doing some journaling above the 2x2 photo. All the photos here are 2x2. I just printed them all up the same size. It makes it a lot more simple. Instead of trying to fit which photo goes where, just print them all the same size. And I print them 2x2 because it fits very easily on any sized card, whether you're talking about a 4x6 or a 3x4. So now I'm turning the page, and my idea here is that the first page said we are definitely breakfast people, and now this page is going to say and coffee people. So I realized when I printed up my photos that I had a lot of breakfast photos and a lot of coffee photos. So I'm going to get those ones out of the way early in the mini album. So once I went to put the photo on the back side of that card, I realized that the card I had already picked out for that page just wasn't going to work with the photo. The photo was 2x2 and it had a frame that was 3x4, and it just was going to leave too much white space that I didn't want. So I switched it with this card that is a pattern that kind of fills the whole page. And I decided to add a flare badge here, and I added it there because it's sort of like, it looks like it's continuing the pattern of the coffees with the flare badge. So I thought that looked kind of cool. And I really liked how you can't really tell from here, but the colors in that card, like the fact it's kind of like a starburst of colors from the center of the card, all of those soft colors are actually in the mugs, which of course you can't see much of the mug because the picture is from right above, but you can see just the little edges of it. So I used some Prima chalk ink there along with the stencil that came in the kit to make an ampersand, because as you recall a few minutes ago I said that the title of this page is going to be "And Coffee People." So I want to use this selfie, #selfie die cut that came in the kit, and I didn't want it to be a color because there's a lot of color going on this layout already. So I used my Mama Elephant pigment ink in a really beautiful gray. I think the color is smoke. And the thing to keep in mind here is that pigment ink takes a long time to dry. So when I tried to put some ATG on that, I got pigment ink all over my ATG. So I had to clean it off with a baby wipe, but that's fine. And then you might not have seen it because, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to do it now. I have to dry that before I can really handle it. So I just have my heat gun to set that ink up so that it's not so messy, because otherwise every time I turn this card over, it's going to get gray ink on whatever I'm touching on the back side of it. So there I have this, it's a selfie that I took of Scott and I in the car with our Starbucks. And here I am shooting an Instagram photo for a sneak peek. So if you follow me on Instagram, you probably already saw that. And I'm just typing that. Sorry, I forgot to edit this part out. There it is. And it occurred to me that this little coffee cup, or I guess it's sort of a teacup, but it could be either, it comes in the stamp set, and that it fits just perfectly there before the word selfie. The two little magnets stuck together, so I had to separate them. It's actually quite tricky to separate them. And so I'm just picking up that stamp from the spot where it is, and I'm inking it with that gray ink, the same ink as the title. I was gonna do the like the steam in a different color, and then I thought that would be too distracting, so I went ahead and inked the steam in the same smoke color ink that I used for the word selfie. I think that looks kind of cute. And it looks really nice up close because the coffee cup is on the background paper, and the word #selfie actually stands up off the page because there's pop dots under the photo. And so there's a bit of shadow. You can't see because my camera lights are so strong that you don't really see the shadow. But it does look cool. You'll see it in the share video. So this video right now is so long that I'm not going to be able to share the final product with you. So stay tuned for the next video, and you'll get a closer look at these pages when they're completed. So here I'm spelling out the word coffee people, or the phrase coffee people. And I have to figure out how I'm going to place it so that that L has some space. So I did it just like that. And now I had to cut off the little tag, the little, I guess, extra piece on the L that lets you attach it to something else, because it was kind of gonna show on the other side of the E. And I'm just placing these letters so that they're fairly straight. They don't have to be perfect because they're sort of a casual handwritten font. And I'm doing my journaling here, and my journaling came out a little bit not quite my proper handwriting because I was trying hard to not smear anything. Even though the ink is dry, I was feeling a little nervous about writing with my hand resting on those inked elements. but I'm not a planned type of a scrapbooker, so I never do things like journal ahead of time, like, because I never know where my journaling is going to end up going, and so it's really difficult for me to do my journaling ahead of time before all of the dimensional items are on my layout. So for the most part, I end up having to stick my journaling in at the end and kind of squish it, and I end up putting my hand on things and stuff like that. But that's just my style of scrapbooking. I think some people might be more planned in how they do things, but I'm just not much of a planner. So here's the word yum that I'm putting on this second page here. It's really cute. I love it. And the word yum repeats in a few different places in this album. And again, that just kind of makes it a little bit more cohesive. It makes it feel like all these album pages belong together. So at this point, I pulled out the Citrus Bliss ephemera pieces that came in the kit this month. A whole package came in the kit, so I'm just pulling out any food-related die cut pieces, and there's also transparencies in there. And I really, really love that pineapple piece. Let me find it so I can read you what it says. It says, "You are one fine apple." So cute. I'm going to outline the pineapple because I like to outline things. It gives it a little bit more dimension and sets it apart because I'm going to layer several things from the same die cut set here on this card. And I find outlining is one way to make things look a little bit less matchy-matchy. So, I know sometimes we want things to match nicely, but sometimes I find when I layer a whole bunch of embellishments from the same ephemera pack, it looks just a little bit too contrived, or things just blend in a little bit too much with each other. So outlining one item is a really nice way to not make it look quite so much like everything blends in, because when you buy things from the same collection pack, they tend to be of all the same sorts of colors. And even though the donut card is not from the same collection pack, it still has the same colors in it. So I wanted the pineapple to stand out because it's my favorite part of that page, is that embellishment. So now on the back side of this donut card, I'm using both sides of the donut card. So instead of sandwiching two cards together, so I have a different card on the back and the front, I'm using both sides of this one because I love it so much and because it's different on each side. It's not just a horizontal version of the other side. So sorry that I'm out of frame here as I'm doing my journaling, but what it says is, Marcel introduced us to Haribo candy and wrecked us for American candy. And I just have that little close-up of, that's my very, very favorite Haribo candy. And he only had one pack. His parents sent him like 4 kilograms of Haribo candy, like probably 20 or 30 packages of candy in there. And only one of them was this. So there were repeats of a whole bunch, but this one was my favorite. It's like a fruity, they're not gummy bears. They're just delicious. I love them. So again, with that Daily Flash font by October Afternoon, just continuing that design throughout. And now this card, I really love it. I'm glad that I included this card. I wasn't going to because it has a different color scheme than the rest of the cards. All the other cards in this album have, they're very colorful. And this one is craft and white. And so I wasn't going to use this one, but I decided to use it anyways. And I really, really love how it turned out. That 2x2 photo just fits perfectly in the space without hanging off the edge. And then I realized that the word yum, which I'm repeating throughout this album in a few different places, it sort of balances off because the love this, and it's sort of like the love this is the negative version of the word yum. So we've got white love this on a craft background, and then we have a craft yum on a white background. And I think it just provides a lot of balance on that card, which you can't see anymore because I've moved on. Sorry about that. And here I'm just layering a photo and a couple of other pieces from the ephemera pack. Sorry that it's out of screen, but the part that I'm working on is up at the top. So these days is a 3x4 card, and I just did some journaling on it. And then it's just kind of, I didn't bother putting a second 3x4 card on the back of this one because I thought I could use that triangle shape as part of the part of the design of this card. So now I'm kind of trying to think about what I'm going to use this I will do one thing today card. And I did end up punching through the phrase, but you can still see what it says. So I'm not too concerned about that. I really love those little citrus fruits there. And I don't have any photos that involve citrus fruits. So I took advantage of this card, which doesn't have a photo, to use that, that citrus die cut, which would otherwise kind of look a little funny next to like a plate of lasagna or something, right? So this is just some journaling about how I've been helping out a little bit more in the kitchen now that I don't actually cook as much. And although I used to always hate cutting and peeling vegetables, I've come to really, really love it. And I find it relaxing. People used to say that to me, and I always thought they were kind of crazy. But now I understand that, you know, cutting and peeling actually is pretty relaxing for me now. So now on this card with the repeat in watercolor, which I love, I absolutely love that card. I have this picture of a bagel with cottage cheese and tomatoes. And we call anything that has cheese and tomatoes, a bagel with cheese and tomatoes is called the Stephen in our house. And that's because my brother-in-law orders that at Tim Hortons. He orders a bagel with, I think, garlic, cream cheese, and a slice of tomato. It's not on the menu, so I would have never thought of ordering that, but he orders it, and now I order it too because I love it so much. So this is from my stash, just this little cardstock. It's actually not cardstock, it's a chipboard arrow, and it's from October Afternoon. It came in another kit, some other kit earlier this year or last year or something. And I'm just kind of adding some embellishments from the kit. And that the reason I went out of my stash is just that there were no arrows in this kit, and I wanted to kind of show that we go from vegetables to a salad. And that's my job. And then I remembered I have the Sweet Life, and I wanted to put it on the Haribo candy. So, and then it looks kind of weird floating there. So I'm going to put the strawberry wood veneer on top of it, just like that. And then that butterfly was just kind of randomly stuck there, and it occurred to me that it adds a little touch of color to that card. So I went ahead and added that as well. Now I'm just going to finish up my journaling on this, which is the last card. And at the last minute, this, again, another accident, because this that sequin was just sitting there on the table by accident, and I decided that that would look kind of cute on the arrow, and so I grabbed my little vial of blue sequins, and I picked a couple of different sizes of sequins so that I can kind of follow the shape of the arrow. I think that looks really cute. It looks better than just the plain arrow. So that leaves me with just the back page, which is this backside of this card, this 4x6 card. And I thought that these cherries just look so cute in that little square there. So that's what I did there. And then I just went online and I Googled food quotes, and I found this one that says, "So long as you have food in your mouth, you have solved all questions for the time being." So I just wrote that down, and thinking about what kind of an emblem I'm going to put on the back. I'm not going to put a picture on the back. I just want it to be kind of like something that looks like an emblem. So I went with this pineapple one. I thought for a minute there about changing it to the lemonade one, but then the pineapple one picks up on the pink that's in the cherries. So I like how that looks. So now it's all complete. And it's going to take me a little while to figure out how to bind it because it's been a while since I've bound something, so bear with me. I do have to look at the instructions. I know that I have to flip the back page around so that it's on top of the front page in order to bind it properly. I just wanted to double check and make sure that I was doing it right, because the last thing I want to do is make a mistake right now with the binding, because the project is all done and I want it to look good. If you're going to make a mistake, a fatal mistake, it should be at the beginning so you can kind of start all over again if you need to. You don't want to make a big mistake at the end. So I took my time, and even though I thought I knew how to do it, I checked and just made sure that I was going to be doing it right. And I know that there is a way to make these the binding pinch, the bind it all, pinch the binding so that it is a nice circle, and it depends on whether you put the bind it all, like, let me see what I'm trying to say here. If you put the rings in so that the backs are one way, it pinches it so that it's not a circle, and then if you turn it around the other way, it'll pinch it so that it's much more of a nice looking circle. I did it the wrong way, and it doesn't really say in the book, but I had made a note of it somewhere, but I couldn't find my note, so I just did it any old way, and it did bind it, so it's not a perfect circle, but it doesn't really matter. It's still bound and it still looks nice. It's just if you look at it from above, you can see that the binding is not a complete circle. It's not a perfect circle. It's like a smushed circle. So here I am. I thought I was done, and then I decided that the cover just didn't look right. I usually love an asymmetrical page or title or whatever, but it just wasn't. It was off. It was off balance. So I decided to add the other spoon, the spoon that goes with the fork. And I talk about that in the share video a little bit more. And then I took some pictures, and then I brought it into my husband's photo studio and took some more pictures. And so these photos will show you every single page, opened and shut, like so, with the little 3x4 card flipped over both ways. So that's why it looks like I've got doubles here, but it's just with the 3x4 one way and then the 3x4 the other way. And then after this, you'll see some other shots of the album from a couple of different perspectives. I had a lot of fun taking the photos this time, so there are lots and lots of pictures. So I hope that you guys enjoy that. See how it's pinched a little bit too much too. I must have used the wrong setting. Anyhow, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope that you guys all have a really great scrappy week,